to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYNT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Justin Case. Tonight and into tomorrow, even more rain will move across the mountains. Already today, we saw the impact of flash flooding. It's a severe weather alert day. We begin with Chief Meteorologist Paige Noel, who is keeping a close eye on the threat. Paige?
Well, the good news is we're seeing a little bit of a break in the rain, but we still have that flash flood watch out until 8 p.m. on your Tuesday. Here is a look at that. You'll notice the counties in green are in this flash flood watch. Once again, that goes until 8 p.m. on your Tuesday. Now, just because you're not in this watch doesn't mean that you can't see some flash flooding possible over really the next hours into tomorrow. You'll notice now, like I said, we're seeing a break. You're seeing most of those showers and storms off to the west and even up to the north, and they are moving to the northwest. You'll notice that on satellite and radar where we're seeing a break right now. More rain is down to our south and to our east, and that'll continue to trek into our area later tonight, and especially as we head into your Tuesday. Temperatures in the upper 60s, lower 70s, not looking too bad, but that humidity outside is almost miserable. Those dew points are near 70 as well. Right now we're okay, but patchy dense fog's really going to be a big issue as we head into the overnight hours and as we head into the rest of your Tuesday morning. Definitely going to want to take it slow as well. We'll talk about the rest of that forecast coming up in just a few short minutes.
As far as the luck, I don't call it luck. I call it the grace of God. That's why I call it.
Crews rushed to save a 90-year-old woman from her home today. A mudslide pushed the home off its foundation. The road is still closed. Geological surveyors say the land is still shifting. More than 50 people worked to free the woman. She is doing okay and is in good spirits. And flash flooding last night left people in Clay County cleaning up today. We showed you some of that damage earlier today. Creeks swelled and drains were backed up, leaving front yards and some businesses flooded. Many say there's nothing they can do now other than sit back, watch, and hope for the best.
It's around it really bad, and it makes the yard terrible. Just hopefully it'll quit raining and plenty of prayers.
Meanwhile, water got inside the county's only homeless shelter, Warm Souls for Worn Souls, opened not too long ago. More than 3 inches of water got into the floors. 6 people were staying there at the time and had to move into the Heritage Inn. The director says he hopes to have everything cleaned up by tomorrow so people can move back in. Last night's heavy rain led to a deadly accident in Spencer County. A family of 4 tried to cross over a flooded bridge but were swept away by high water. Crews found George Lewis Cantu dead early this morning. His wife and son swept downstream. They were found holding onto trees. The 4th passenger, Cantu's daughter, was able to get out and find help. Officials say the family was leaving a Father's Day party. And to help you track the rain in the forecast, download the WYMT weather app. It's available in the Apple and Google Play stores. For now, it appears more U.S. troops will head to the Middle East soon. The news comes as the U.S. and Iran edge toward a flashpoint. Officials for Iran said today that they plan to break compliance with an accord that keeps it from making nuclear weapons. Pentagon officials say the development includes security forces and troops for additional surveillance and intelligence gathering in the region. Yesterday, we lost a mountain legend. King Kelly Coleman is considered one of, if not the greatest, ever to play high school basketball in the Bluegrass. In October of 2005, at his home in Wayland, then WYMT sports director Brian Milam spent more than 6 hours with the man they simply called the King.
They were talking basketball. Russians love basketball like we do. And the Russians were talking about, and my nephew said, well, you know, I have an uncle that was, you know, he played a little basketball. Said, you probably never heard of him. Says Kelly Coleman. He said, the guy said, King Kelly Coleman? So somebody in Russia knew who I was too.
It is impossible to find someone who loves Kentucky high school basketball to have never heard the name King Kelly Coleman. His name conjures images of greatness, but his story is also one of myth, vulnerability, and humility. 50 years after his most legendary feat, he never understood the acclaim which surrounded him.
What it is, I don't know. Possibly a lot of it could be because a lot of the records that I had then, they're still standing. That could be probably a part of it, I would say.
The numbers Coleman put up during the seasons between 1954 and 1956 are astronomical. More than 4,000 career points, 185 points in 4 state tournament games, 75 points and 41 rebounds in one matchup, all of which led to him being called the King, a name which took decades for him to become comfortable with accepting.
Also by a king, you think of what a king is, and I thought it might add more pressure than I already had, so I didn't like it. I didn't like it up till the last few years, to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me now, but even up into my adulthood, I didn't like the game. Didn't like it at all.
In fact, Coleman had so much acclaim, Adolph Rupp called him the greatest high school basketball player he had ever seen. And that may have rubbed some people the wrong way.
I kind of blamed a lot of the booing on the old ex-Kentucky players. I blamed a lot of that on them, and I would never have went down there under no circumstance.
Many of the derogatory comments and the jeers he heard as a high school player turned into cheers later in life, and it seemed to ease some of the scars of his teenage years.
To me, basketball was a game, and I played it. And I'm glad they feel that way about me, but if they didn't, I'd still be what I am right now. It wouldn't matter.
Those who knew him best say Coleman was more than just a basketball player. J.R. Van Hoos followed in the King's footsteps, decades later being named Mr. Basketball himself. A few years ago, he and King Kelly, who was extremely private, sparked a close relationship. Van Hoos says the King inspired so many to chase their dreams.
Everybody wanted to be a legend like him, and nobody's done it since, and so that's one of the amazing things about it.
The King's visitation will be held at the Wayland Gym from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Friday, and the visitation will continue at the gym at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and the funeral will be held at noon Saturday at Hall Funeral Home in Martin. Deputies are calling it a murder-suicide. A couple in their mid-50s found shot to death inside their Breathitt County home. Now deputies are left trying to figure out exactly what happened as 2 families are left in shock. I talked with Sheriff's Office officials today about what they think happened and what is next in the investigation. Feeling concerned, James Hale's brother went to his Breathitt County home after not hearing from him for some time.
The family hadn't heard from him in about a week. Knocked on the door. Knew their vehicles were home, so he made entry.
Inside this home off of Highway 30 West, 57-year-old James Hale and 55-year-old Alice Harold were both found shot dead.
He was either coming in the door or standing at the door when he was shot. And as he proceeded through the house or advanced toward her, she fired 2 to 3 more times.
Major Mike Wolf says he believes Harold then grabbed another gun which she used to take her own life.
And my theory is that he won't have any gunshot residue on his hands, and she will have 2 different caliber of residue on her hands.
Officials say the couple dated for about 2 years. There were no reports of domestic violence between them.
The autopsy will give us the official time of death, but the decomposition on the bodies, it would appear that they've been deceased for 7 to 10 days.
When asked about whether anyone else could have been involved,
his wallet was still there and intact. All his credit cards, money was still there. The house wasn't ransacked. The medication, there was prescription medication that was out in the open, televisions, firearms.
Wolf says he does not believe so. Both bodies are being sent to Frankfurt for autopsies. We are told James Hale leaves behind 3 children. Firefighters are investigating a suspicious fire that burned down a home in the Chaves community of Perry County. The fire started at this abandoned home on around 6:30 Monday evening. It only took firefighters about 15 minutes to contain the fire. However, the home is now destroyed. Officials say the home was abandoned and no one had been living there for some time. All power was cut off to the house. Fire officials tell us it was also raining at the time they got the call about the fire. No injuries were reported and the cause of the fire is still under investigation. A 12-year-old boy was killed when a vehicle hit his dirt bike. It happened Saturday night on Kentucky 979 in the T-Berry community of Floyd County. Now the community is coming together to help the family with funeral expenses. Mud Creek Fire Department raised around $5,000. Teachers are remembering Dylan as a shy student with a bright future.
The students become a part of everybody's lives, the teachers, the other students. It's, you know, we're a very close-knit school anyway.
Dylan was in 7th grade at J.M. Stumbo Elementary School. Visitation for 12-year-old Dylan Mullins will be at the River of Life Free Will Baptist Church tomorrow and Wednesday at 2. His funeral is Thursday at 1. Savannah Spurlock's family is hoping a new reward will help them find out what happened to the missing mother. Spurlock was last seen leaving a bar in downtown Lexington back in January. Investigators have not been able to find her. And Spurlock's family is now offering a $15,000 reward for the first tip leading to her safe return or her recovery. This reward will not expire. A former UK student accused of making threats toward the university is ready to plead guilty. Hale Duvall was indicted last year on federal charges. Police say she used Snapchat to make threats toward other students. According to court documents, Duvall intends to change her plea during her next hearing, which is a week from today. Good news tonight. Out of Floyd County, a man officials issued a golden alert for earlier today is safe. They became concerned when no one heard from Gideon Pitts since Sunday evening. He was last seen in the Spurlock Creek area. Officials did not say where they found him. They just said he is safe. Coming up at 11, efforts are underway to turn an old Eastern Kentucky jail into a museum. We will tell you all about it.
And the flash flooding threat continues as more rain is expected for your Tuesday. I'll have a look at that full forecast next.